Hi, my name is Julio Rivera. I'm an activist, journalist, adventurer, veteran, television presenter, and businessman. I've covered many of the major historical events going on around the world over the past several years, and after watching regime changes, conflict, and historic elections globally, I've come to the conclusion that the most underreported crisis in the world today can be defined in only one word: malware. That's why I've decided to dedicate my time to educating people everywhere and exposing the dangers that exist on the devices that we've become tethered to and depend on for so many reasons in our day-to-day life. Welcome to This Week in Malware. On This Week in Malware, we'll be covering: a DDoS campaign is extorting businesses posing as Fancy Bear and Lazarus hacking groups. Election 2020, 3 ways cybercriminals are trying to steal your vote. And Egregor Ransomware gang leaks data stolen from gaming giants Ubisoft and Crytek. Recently, a new wave of attacks based around a unique form of misdirection has focused on digital extortion. In October of 2020, security firm Radware published extortion messages sent to companies around the world. In the messages, hackers known as the Armada Collective pretend to be either from the North Korean government hacking group Lazarus, also known as Ep28, or the Russian state-backed hackers Fancy Bear, or Ep28. The message threatens a powerful distributed denial of service attack against the victims if they fail to pay thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin. This type of extortion, which entails a preemptive payment to prevent an online attack, has resurfaced repeatedly over the last decade. But starting in the summer of 2020, criminals have attempted to leverage fear regarding high-profile nation-state attacks to try to make money. Like a good salesperson, they follow up on the first message to convince the payment to pay before actually going to the trouble of executing attack, says Pascal Guénens, Director of Threat Intelligence at Radware. Of course, these criminals would prefer the easy money and not having to go through the process of running an attack. However, if the threat actors want to keep their campaign credible, not attacking is not an option. According to Radware, the hackers tended to pose as Lazarus Group when attempting to extort money from financial entities, and as Fancy Bear when threatening tech or manufacturing firms. One example saw hackers that pretended to be Lazarus Group send an extortion message to TravelX in late August of 2020. The attackers wanted 20 Bitcoin and said that the ransom would go up by 10 Bitcoin for every day that passed after the initial deadline. TravelX didn't pay the ransom and weathered the DDoS attack that the hackers launched. Ironically enough, extortion DDoS attacks have never been especially profitable for hackers because they lack the urgency of ransomware, which sees the target desperate to restore access. Generally speaking, DDoS as an extortion method isn't as profitable as other types of digital extortion, according to Robert McCardle, Director of Threat Research at Trend Micro. It's a threat to do something as opposed to the threat that you're already done it. It's like saying, I might burn your house down next week. It's a lot different when the house is on fire in front of you. While these kinds of attacks may not be as crippling for most victims as ransomware, they still pose a threat to organizations that don't have the proper defenses in place. And with so many online threats to think about, it's easy to see how scare tactics could work often enough to make it a viable scheme for criminals. The US election is just around the corner, and candidates are battling over issues that include the Supreme Court, the coronavirus pandemic, and more. Meanwhile, the internet plays host to conspiracy theories, influence campaigns, and false claims. At a critical time like this, how can voters spot political disinformation and foreign influence on their social media feed? Here are 3 tactics scammers are using to try to steal your vote. Disinformation. Disinformation campaigns are a major threat. They're conducted via social media and email mostly. The methods and strategies vary, but most are carried out by accounts that originate in Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. The result can be that people go to the ballots with false information or that they're dissuaded from voting at all. Hacking attacks against election systems. Hackers can easily leverage ransomware or use cryptography-based attacks to lock election officials out of crucial voter information, making it potentially impossible to vote in affected districts. These attacks may be carried out by political activists who believe that there's a moral imperative to stop a particular candidate. Or it may be financially motivated, so hackers believe organizations under the pressure of a voting deadline will be more likely to pay a ransom. Regardless of any particular motivation, threats like Ransomware and TrickBot, one of the world's most prolific ransomware distributors, can be devastating to an organization, so election officials must be aware of and prepared for ransomware. Phishing campaigns. Phishing campaigns are one of the oldest but still widely used forms of attack and are targeting elected officials and election systems, as well as election workers and volunteers. Businesses have to be aware that election-themed social media content provides effective bait for unsuspecting employees into a phishing attack. To avoid the risk from ransomware or phishing, election officials must educate employees on the dangers that exist on social media. How else can we keep the election secure? Some of the other ways to keep the 2020 election safe and secure include developing and implementing a cybersecurity strategy that can ensure that everyone involved in the process is trained to spot trouble. Always use two-factor authentication on all mission-critical systems. Conducting penetration tests and hiring security experts to audit systems and conduct risk-limiting audits. Educating election workers on threats and how to spot signs of trouble, especially when it comes to phishing emails. On the legislative level, passing laws that penalize the social media companies where disinformation is spread. The ransomware gang Egregor has begun to leak data that it claims to have obtained from the internal network of two of the largest gaming companies, Ubisoft and Crytek. Data allegedly taken from each company was published on the ransomware gang's dark web portal in October of 2020. How exactly the Egregor gang obtained the data remains unclear. Still, it is common practice for ransomware gangs like Egregor to breach companies, steal their data, encrypt files, and ask for a ransom to decrypt locked data. Sometimes, if negotiations break down, ransomware gangs will post a partial leak of the stolen files on so-called leak sites. Leaks from both the Crytek and Ubisoft data were posted on the Egregor portal simultaneously, along with threats from the ransomware crew to leak additional files unless they received payment. Reports say that security researchers have tried to notify Ubisoft about several of their employees getting phished for the past year. This may be how the hackers gained access to the information. But while hackers leaked only 20 megabytes of data from Ubisoft, they leaked a whopping 300 megabytes from Crytek. The Crytek files included documents from the company's game development division. These docs contain sensitive information about the development process of popular games like Arena of Fate and Warface. In an email interview with ZDNet, the Egregor gang provided some additional details about the two incidents. The hackers said they breached the Ubisoft network but only stole the data and did not encrypt any of the company's files. Conversely, Crytek has been encrypted fully, the Egregor crew told ZDNet. The Egregor group has stated that neither company engaged in discussions despite the attacks, and the hackers officially requested no ransom as of yet. In case Ubisoft will not contact us, we will begin posting the source code of upcoming watchdogs and their engine. The group threatened, promising to publish more data in subsequent press releases. You know, as I think about the dangers that exist online, not unlike the subjects we learned about in this video, I know I feel a lot better having an anti-malware program like SpyHunter installed in my PC, providing me the protection I need against malware, and I think you should too. SpyHunter 5's strongest features are found in its malware repair capabilities. SpyHunter 5's remediation algorithms dive deep into your system to remove and address complex malware issues affecting PCs today. While many anti-malware products only flag and quarantine malware and ultimately fail to fully remediate the root problem, the SpyHunter 5 remediation algorithm detects, quarantines, and programmatically repairs malware problems on your PC. SpyHunter 5 is a powerful PC utility that repairs malware threats in many cases where other competing anti-malware and antivirus programs may fail. To detect and remove malware for free, go to enigmasoftware.com and download SpyHunter today. Thanks for watching.